clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that beat.
Kids are back. Celtics with a big win tonight. Another one. Keep on rolling. 140 to 122. Bobby down.
Weekend Jimmy.
In the first quarter. Weekend Jimmy. Holiday Jimmy. Post Christmas Jimmy. Just left my present for it to come up here to do the show. Anybody make a present for it back in the day? Sorry.
No.
Just me, I guess. It's all good. Anyways, we're still celebrating. We're still celebrating the holiday season here in Boston because the Celtics roll another win out there. Tough start, a little bit of an eggnog hangover, something like that for the Celtics to start this one, but come alive in a big way in the second quarter. I think, Bobby, you said it was the third most points in franchise history in the second quarter. So
yeah,
how many was that? 47?
47.
This day in history, where were you the night the Celtics had the third most points ever in the second quarter in franchise history? We were right here. So we're going to hang out for a bit, talk a little bit about this game and probably a few other things. I don't think we can do an hour and a half on the Pacers, quite frankly, Bobby and Noah. Jimmy T here as well.
Hey, you were the Pacers guy at one point.
I was, and my guy TJ McConnell got into some mischief tonight, which is what I like. Sparked the team. And I got to tell you who else liked it. Joe Mazzulla. Big fan of Jordan Walsh, getting a little chippy out there. Big high five, Noah. I know you saw that on High Five Watch.
I saw it.
To Walsh.
Bobby dropped High Five Watch. I think, Bobby, you see all the high fives now, right?
Yeah, I wanted to start it, but you wouldn't keep track of it. So
yeah, it would just be
maybe in the new year,
running counter like this nonstop. But well-deserved high five because Walsh is like, yo, I'm Jordan effing Walsh. I belong in this league too. And I'm playing physical. I'm grabbing boards. I don't even know what McConnell was pissed about, to be honest.
Yeah, neither do I.
I watched it back a few times, and I just think he was probably pissed because they blew a 15-point lead and they were down 20, most likely. But anyways,
and
Bobby,
jarring at the bench down 20.
Yeah. Tough look. We'll start with Noah. Noah, right off the top, what stood out to you the most in this game? What did you love about this game?
The biggest thing that I'm noticing is that every night it just is a different guy. Like Ugo was one of the only players that was in the minus tonight. It's been Ugo mania here right over the last couple of weeks, where with his ascension into the rotation and all the impact that he's had. Tonight it was Baylor Shireman who played really well in the first half. I thought that his minutes were crucial. Obviously, Sam Hauser, we've talked a lot about his struggles. This was his best game of the season. He was like 7 of 8 from 3. So you're just seeing like that theme of what the Celtics team has been all about this season, which is every night a different player might step up. Tonight was another perfect example of that. And obviously you had the big second quarter from Payton Pritchard. You have Jaylen Brown, who somehow got another 30-plus point game. That was pretty fun.
Thumbs down in the comment, not your point. Yeah, Jaylen Brown.
It was cool to see 30-point game, and he was like smiling. I think he wanted and knew about that one. But it just seems to be like this team does not rely on one or two guys. It can be anybody's night. And Joe doesn't know Josh Mine minutes tonight. He's a guy that was crucial to their success a couple weeks back. So it just kind of goes to show you that like that's the MO and the identity of this team. It's not rooted in any 1 or 2 or 3 players, and it doesn't really matter who was playing well last game because new guys are going to get an opportunity every night. So very well-rounded team effort in this one, and they've now won 9 of their last 11 games. Like this is one of the best teams in the league. Like they're up there, and all the metrics kind of indicate that as well.
Yeah, and you worry about the defense a little bit. You give up 122 in this one. You get off to an awful start on that end again. Almost felt like Monday's game all over again. And that one obviously took you until the second half to turn things around. They did it much faster in this one. And again, it's the bench. It's Luka Garza. It's Hauser. It's Simons, who hit some foul trouble early. Didn't play as large of a role in this one. But those guys, and then Shireman, awesome impact from a plus-minus perspective midway through that game into the third. Loved his defense on Pascal Siakam. So it was another night where your bench continued to form an identity. Yeah, and we've talked a lot about what he's done in his small pockets, and that expands to 20 minutes here. Passes Walsh, passes Ugo, and certainly Minot here, who we probably should talk about a little bit later in terms of his struggles. But one guy does seem to rise from that group every single night, and they just seem to roll with whoever it is among the rebounders and fours and perimeter defenders, whatever you want to classify those guys as. It was foul trouble for Walsh in this one. I don't know where Joe's at in terms of his play and his effectiveness. We obviously talked in our last video, Noah, about the prospect of Ugo starting, and now he doesn't play much in this game. So who knows which way that's going to go. Feel pretty good about the starters and where they're at. Few concerning starts in this Indiana miniseries here, but it's great that the bench can pick you up the way they have here. And that group, specifically the Simons, Shireman / Hauser, Garza, and Ugo thing, it continues to intrigue. And it's so great to see Garza back the way he has been 3 games in a row now, playing their most minutes at center across all 3 of those games. He's a revelation this week after you thought he was out of the mix, out of the rotation a week or 2 ago at this point. So another massive night for him. I just thought he was awesome in this one, physically, hustling, screen setting. He was the story of this one for me in many ways, the way he continues to expand his role.
Yeah, I think he's the biggest side story to this one, aside from just the fact that Celtics keep on rolling, is that Garza, of all you put every player out there on the court, or you pull up the box score, probably the last guy you think that's going to lead the team in plus minus is Luka Garza, but that's exactly the case tonight, plus 26, and well earned. It wasn't like he was just, a passenger out there during a
He's
Celtics
been the swing
streak.
player in 3 straight games, turning the game around.
Yeah, 26 minutes tonight is no joke. That's legitimate, that's starter level, borderline starter level minutes, 26 minutes, 15 points for him. Perfect 5 of 5 from the field, including a 3-pointer, 4 boards on the way there. So, and the hustle, the nonstop hustle. I mean, I got to say, my Christmas stocking stuffer, if he got it, he needed it tonight because it was a package of electrolytes. And the guy continues to just look like he just took a bath out there in the court, but he doesn't slow down. He's just like one of those guys that's just going to constantly motor up and down the way he can. And he's just involved. I think that's the best way I can put it is, he's just a guy that's going to, when he is given the opportunity, he's going to make sure that he just makes the most of it. And I think you can say that in the most case for just about every bench player on this team. I think you've got your situations where, when it doesn't happen, it because Joe Mazzulla is very quick with the hook, or he's quick with the DNPCD. And Bobby, you mentioned Jordan Minot earlier. I think there's something about Minot. Sorry, not Jordan Minot. Like sorry, Josh Minot. Jordan, Josh. You mentioned Josh Minot earlier. DNPCD tonight obviously seems to be the odd man out right now. But we have this conversation every 10 days. It's a different guy, it seems, on that bench that, there's so many slots, so many rotation spots, and there's a guy that's going to, it seems like as many guys work their way into the rotation, Noah, it seems like at some point a guy finds his way out of the rotation. And right now it's Minot. It doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, but Walsh obviously is back from his illness, and the way that, Garza is playing right now, Joe likes going a little bit bigger, at least with Garza in there, more of a traditional big, than somebody like, stretching somebody to the 5th position and playing small ball, where you have Bobby talking about, Gonzalez being their 4th center, right? So is this something that we should expect to see for the foreseeable future now, with Garza kind of taking on this spot in the rotation where you get more of a big man in there?
We might. I mean, listen, I don't want to say any one thing is going to be permanent from here on out.
You want to hold you to it.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. I mean, he's really impacting winning, and the things that he does really well, we're seeing him do really well. And the things that he struggles with, he's kind of mitigating those things. So I don't think he's going to play 27 minutes on an average night this season. But the fact of the matter is that they need somebody else out there outside of Keita. Mm-hmm. And I think we've seen them struggle to kind of fill that role, whether they go small ball, whether they even have used Amari Williams in the past. In an ideal world, the other guy you went out and signed this summer, Luka Garza, on a 2-year deal, ideally he is somebody that you can trust with those 15, 20 minutes a night. And I think right now, a lot of fans that were very skeptical about him a week or 2 ago are seeing what it is that he brings to the court every single night. And it's not going to be perfect, but nobody's perfect, right? There's a reason why these guys are minimum contract players. And right now he has been like Bobby said, like the swing factor in a bunch of games in a row. So it's really good to see. I don't know how far it's going to go, and I don't know. I'll be curious to see how he matches up against some of like the tougher front courts in the league. Like that's certainly a factor, but Joe knows when to pull out that card, and so far it's played out really well.
Yeah, and those minutes swung early in the fourth. It was like 21-18 going into the final frame there. And the game was mostly over in the early stretch of that final quarter, but still enough time where they want to keep the starters in there, where they wanted to slam the door, not allow anything to go wrong there. And the Pacers did make their push, but Keita gave up a foul. They swapped those guys again. It was like 7 minutes left, and you're like, all right, it looks like Garza is going to pass him in minutes here again in this one. And he ultimately did. Not that a ton of those mattered down the stretch, but I do think it was significant that they wanted Garza on the floor to close this one. And that's been the case in all of these games, right, Noah? Like, they've had Garza out there for pretty much all of this win streak in terms of the final couple minutes there and closing out these games and giving them the energy down the stretch that they've needed from him. I wouldn't say he's pushing Keita at the moment because I do think they like the chemistry of the starters. Keita's defense is certainly better, right? He got off to a great start in this game too. He was all over the start of the first quarter, but there's open battle for playing time, Jimmy. If Garza's playing better in a game, they're going to play him more. Yeah,
I think minutes make sense, but Keita isn't playing poorly. No. I don't think you can say that, just because Garza's, hit a little bit of a, he's on a little bit of a run here. Joe's not the type of guy that's going to just make, irrational decisions like that. And I think, like you said, I already said it, Bobby. I mean, they have a good thing going in that starting lineup. We know that that 5-man plus minus is one of the best in the league with Keita in there or offensive efficiency. And you just like what he gives you. And on any given night, it could be, Keita could be the guy that night. Garza could be the guy that night. It's not like one or the other has this huge advantage over one, but you stick with Keita because he's comfortable, in those minutes, starting the game, getting his teammates into whatever emotion they need to get into. And then Garza's an energy guy. Garza's got I know this feels like a light years ago by, but there was a time where Kornet was the energy guy off the bench, right? It'd come in, him and Pritchard would come in and they'd just try to spark, a flat Celtics team, and it would work. I'm not saying that Garza and Kornet have similar games, but I think their roles are similar. Early on in Kornet's Celtics career, he came in, spot minutes. Obviously, they're not running anything for him. He's just trying to get involved, and I think now you're getting to that point with Garza where Missoula trusts him a little bit more at this point, getting in there, playing through, getting him involved in things and earning that playing time. And I feel like at this point, you just ride that out with Garza on that secondary role. And on a night like tonight, the minutes might tick up higher for Garza. Like you said, it was kind of fourth quarter, ask a little bit there. But I also think he earned those 26 minutes tonight the way he played. So good problem. I mean, it's not a problem. It's a good thing. It's a good
they
problem
needed
to
a
have
center to emerge alongside Keita, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
they had nothing there.
There's still, compared to the rest of the league, there's still one of the weakest, if not, one of the weakest teams at that 5 spot, right? But you're at least getting serviceable minutes from that position now, especially coming off the bench with Garza, at least right now.
For sure. And again, I think the rim protection that you have with Keita out there is different, right? But this has been the biggest question so far this season about how do you survive the non-Keita minutes? And over the course of this past week, you have a pretty good solution out there, it's promising to see. So he's one of the big stories of this game for sure. I think there was actually a bunch of stories out of this one, which kind of has been the case.
Another bench so guy,
different contributors. Yeah.
Sam Hauser, old friend. Best game of the year, 7 of 8 from 3. And this is coming off a game a few games ago where he had 15 points. So I think he's 16. I think he's 16 for his last 28 or something from 3. Obviously tonight giving that a nice boost, but feels like he might be getting into a little bit of a rhythm here. And Noah, I mean, you know just as much as the next person. That's what once a shooter gets into some sort of a little bit hot streak. Noah, you've been there on the court. I didn't ask Bobby specifically. I asked you.
I don't know if that intro is really warrants my. I mean, it's true. Listen,
where you are with
Hauser gets a lot of flack. Yeah. Hauser gets a lot of flack for his inconsistency because everybody knows the reason he's out there is to hit his threes. And at the end of the day, all shooters are inconsistent. I think he has, I don't know if he's more streaky than most, but he certainly had a rough stretch there for about 5-6 weeks where he just wasn't shooting well. I think he was 0-9 against the Bucks. That was kind of like the low for him. But the thing is that in aggregate, if you look at the regular season, he always bounces back. And I still think he's going to hit that 40% mark, even though it's going to take some hot shooting for a while to get back to that spot. Because he's at around 36% right now in the season, which is, far below what he's used to. But again, a night like tonight, I would actually say that he saved the game, because in that first quarter, the game was getting away from them again, and they were down by as many as 15. And Hauser hit a couple of big threes that prevented that lead from really ballooning. And a lot of times in a blowout game like this, you forget that there was actually a moment where not only was the game in question, but the game was actually at complete risk of getting away from them again. And I would credit Sam Hauser for like the 3 threes that he hit early on that kind of cut into that lead. And then you have the normal suspects, Jaylen Brown, Payton Pritchard, kind of taking over the scoring load from there. But a lot of times, like Derek's hit a bunch of big ones this season where it's like in a tough spot where the momentum's going to shift and you hit a couple shots and that changes the game. So he was huge. I was just about to say Baylor as well comes in and plays with a ton of energy and it kind of earns those minutes. Defensively, I think Baylor is just one of those guys that just maximizes what he's able to do with his skill set. But again, like the Sam Hauser spotlight is strong because he's the only one of the guys that are coming off the bench in that rotation spot that's not on a minimum contract, right? Jordan, Josh, Ugo, they're all playing on like rookie deals or Baylor, or minimum deals. And everybody knows Sam Hauser's on a, he got his payday, so I think that's where there's a little bit more scrutiny. But you're going to see a lot more of these kinds of games for him throughout the course of the season, because the shooting stretch that he was in was not representative of what he's going to be capable of.
Yeah, and it's so brutal watching him struggle. He wears it on his face. The misses are awful when he is. And the 0-10 night a couple weeks ago, and it's Milwaukee. You're like, oh, man. They just sat him right down after that possession where he missed 4 shots in a row on one possession. And it's been that kind of year for him. Really 2 years in a row where at the start of it, he's just struggling and going through it and seemed like he was in pain last year to open that season. I don't know what has gone on with him the last couple of years at the start of these seasons. Now, this year, I like the way he's made up for it with defense and better rebounding and, movement, passing, a couple of different things that he's flashed outside the shooting. But he has to put the ball in the basket. It's his job. It's the reason he's out there. It's what they need from him. It's why they kept him. And when he doesn't deliver that, it's tough, right? Because it's such a hard job to do it consistently at the level they ask him to do it at. They're tough shots, certainly. There's a lot of attention, a lot of pressure on him, especially with Tatum not out there. But he has to do it. And it's nice to see him turn it around here. For a team that has struggled mightily from 3, we've looked at 2 guys who can get them out of that spot. And we've wanted to see Simons more involved, discussed the difficulties of that over and over and over again this year. Hauser, it's easy. Like he could start on this team feasibly. And they've gone other directions with guys who are better at rebounding and defense. But if he shoots like this in a game, he's going to play a ton of minutes. And he's going to be out there for a closing lineup like he was against the Heat. Big role in that game, too, turning around in the fourth quarter. He's still so important. The fans get on him. I understand it. Again, it's so difficult to watch sometimes when he struggles. But he's their best shooter, and shooters so important to what they do. It's still the foundation of their offense, the three-point shooting. And in a game like this, you see how unstoppable they are when they have it. And between he and a couple other guys, you need them to at least hit it at a semi-capable rate. It's not the most exciting conversation in the world, and I'm sure there will be some debate leading up to the deadline about whether he should be part of this team going into the future. But no, you've said it over and over again. He finds a way to get back to that 40% line, and looks like he's on that trajectory again here.
Yeah, and that would be unbelievable for him to get. I don't even want to think about what he'd have to shoot because it's probably outrageous. But if anybody in the league can do it, he obviously is one of those guys because he is really a streaky shooter. And I think the reason it stands out so much, Noah, is because we've seen some of his games where he just has been so ridiculously on point. He's had these games where he's hit 7, 8, 9 threes. And I think it's because also, like, if you're a Celtics fan, that's why he's in the game. So I think you're honed in a little bit more on that specific one thing that Sam Hauser is out there to do. So when it doesn't happen, it's easy to say, oh, he's not doing his job out there. He's out there to hit threes. And then when it does happen, you're likely to remember it because you're like, this guy's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. So I think it is maybe in some way it's a little unfair because he probably does get criticized more than others who miss threes, but at the same time, it's like the thing that he does out there. I'm not saying he's a liability in every other situation, but that is like the thing that he's like one of the best at in the NBA. So if you're not performing near or at the top of that list, obviously it's something that's gonna come out. But there is a guy that has been performing at the top of everybody's list. He's at the top. He's on the nice list, I would say, this year, Bobby. That's Jaylen Brown. He's on the Garden Report. We should have done a naughty list and a nice list. That would have been a fun little segment. Maybe we'll wait and we'll do that before the holiday season's officially over. But Jaylen Brown's at the top of the nice list this year. Another 30-point performance, 13 of 20 from the field, very efficient. Bang, bang, 3 to get to that 30 number in the fourth quarter there. 4 assists, 4 turnovers. Not great. Not the worst we've seen. And a plus 19. Once again, and it wasn't Brown by any stretch in the beginning of this game. I thought Derek White got them back into things with some big shots. I obviously thought Pritchard got involved, and I thought, it was more of a team effort. But Jaylen Brown got caught fire a little bit there as the game went on, and they're still being led, obviously, by this guy. What 30-point number is this now? Where are we at?
8.
8 in a row.
8 in a row.
And I think it's 12 of his last 13 also, which the only
13.
game he didn't hit 30, he had a triple-double.
And he's got like 18 of them overall or something like that. I forget the exact number. Needless to say, playing like one of the best players in the NBA right now, we're going to just continue to say he's in the MVP conversation, but knowing that it's not him. But it's like, every party has like a fringe guy where he's just kind of hanging out on the wall. He's at the party. Like or maybe he's at the table. He's just kind of like on the couch, kind of sitting by himself. He's still there though. We're fully aware that he's not a front runner, but the fact that this guy's even in the conversation, I think, is more than what many, if not all, basketball or Celtics fans would have thought at this point in the year. Certainly me. I was concerned that teams would be able to really just focus in on Brown and White, take them out of a game, and the Celtics were going to be, screwed. I've been wrong in just about every prediction model that I had rigorously calculated going into the year. Happy to be wrong. What about tonight, Bobby? Was Brown able to sort of, I don't know, was it just a typical Brown game for him, the way he's been playing right now?
Yeah, I mean, especially into the third, the mid-range shooting just got silly. For this team, I mean, the shooting overall, second and third quarter there, they didn't commit a single turnover in the second, but they still shot like 60% from the field across all those possessions they piled up there, which is just absurd. Probably the best quarter we've seen from them this year. I'd have to go back and watch that Magic one because, they had 48 and a quarter against the Magic at home earlier this year. But mid-range shooting there throughout this one, pulling up him specifically here, yeah, that just continues to be a shot that he's like in the 50, 60 percentage point from in most games here. How many makes from him from the mid-range one in this one? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 12 attempts from mid-range, 9 for 13 outside the restricted zone in this one. So he gets into that space, he rises
Some nice
up,
pull-ups, yeah,
creates the separation, and it was like every single time into the third there where they started to separate themselves, that was going down. And there's one possession I loved in this game where he was trying to dribble, trying to create it, couldn't get there, tossed it out to White, and then just creatively found space for himself by setting a nice screen and slipping into a mismatch and, catching and turning and firing and making it as he did all night in this one. The shooting from him, much like it has throughout this year, just absurd. And you wonder if it'll continue, specifically with the degree of difficulty of these shots. But it just continues and continues and continues for this team and this group. And when they haven't risen into the top 10 in 3-point percentage, as they haven't yet this year, we've talked a lot about, is this team going to come down to earth from the shooting? And I'm sure the mid-rangers will. But if the threes start to turn around at the same time, like they have a little bit recently and, over the last month and a half here to a large degree, I do think this offense can stay pretty high in the league. I mean, what I was thinking during this game, though, is they just knocked down shot after shot after shot. They're so used to shooting jump shots, doing it the last 4 years, having that be their system, being so free to take them, no hesitation whatsoever when you have space. That's the mantra here. that does have to carry over, even for guys who maybe aren't the most talented on this roster. They've done it too. They've experienced what it's like to play in this offense and have that level of freedom. And I guess it isn't surprising to me that this team knocks down shots at the rate that they do, even with a little less talent and probably more attention on some key guys this year.
Yeah, it feels pretty sustainable because they've done it in different ways. Jaylen's been drawing a lot more fouls than he ever has. Not so much tonight, but that's been a big part of his scoring load. You guys mentioned the mid-range. After SGA, he is the second most efficient mid-range scorer in the league right now. He's at around 49% from there.
That's crazy.
Tonight will probably bump him up a little. And so I'm comfortable saying, at this point in the season, we try to avoid like making big conclusions about guys' efficiency through a couple week period, but what are we 30 games in? I feel like this is pretty sustainable. And this streak has really epitomized his consistency because 30 points in 8 consecutive games, he's one more game and he ties Larry Bird for the franchise record. I mean, think about how many great players have played for the Celtics, right? How many incredible scores.
Right he will not let that happen.
Right? And he's finding ways to do it. I mean, tonight was not a high shooting night for him. Like he didn't take a ton of shots, right? He had 24 points midway through that fourth quarter. And then he pulls up for 2 threes and just like ties it. I thought that was so emblematic of like how his season has been going. And he was I thought that was a cool moment of him just kind of seemingly acknowledging the fact that he was gunning for that record and then checking out of the game. But that level of consistency just does not happen very often in this league. It's really hard to score 30 points, right? We know that. That's why SGA's ability to do that has separated him from the pack, and it's why a big part of why he was MVP last year alongside like the Thunder's success. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's the player of the month. He's had an incredible month. He hasn't scored below 30 points so far this month. The Celtics are winning. He's playmaking. He had some great passes today, finding Luka Garza behind the back. He had 4 steals, which kind of negates the turnovers, when you look at ball control and all that. So I don't know. I think he's just exactly who he said he was. And that's what the season has been all about, is that the player that all along he thought he was, we're all seeing it. And some people already saw it before, but now we're all kind of seeing it. The whole world is seeing it, the whole NBA community, other players. And he's a big reason for why they keep winning.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I gave him the beanie with the headlight on it. He's just leading the way with this team. Another 30-point performance. I mean, the fact that he's in the same conversation as the Larry Bird speaks to how hot he's been right now. And I think player of the month would be a hell of an honor, especially in December, big month for basketball. You've got the Christmas games. There were some pretty good games yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught the late one. That was an awesome game with Jokic. But Jaylen Brown's right up there playing obviously playing like an all-star, playing like an all-NBA, matter of which team you think he should be on right now. And obviously there's a lot of basketball left to play. But I just think the fact that we're having this conversation about him is just unbelievable to me. Not unbelievable because I didn't think he was a good player. I just didn't think that he would be able to carry this roster. And that's what makes it even more impressive to me. And that's why I think when you talk about the word valuable, I really think that his value has never been higher to this team. Oh, we lost Noah, it looks like. And then that's the key, Bobby, is that, he's doing it. It's leading to wins. And he clearly is, when I'm not, no slight against Derek White, who a lot of people think is, on any given night, the best player on the court. But when you look up and down this roster, you can give Joe Mazzulla a lot of credit, and you should, because Mazzulla is a huge part of this team's DNA and getting more out of players than you think you can. But I think this team definitely goes to the beat of Jaylen Brown. And I think on the court, I think off the court, I think he carries himself the right way. And it's showing. It's showing in the Celtics. And Jaylen Brown's always had confidence. He's always felt like, at least in my eyes, it seems like he's always felt like he's confident in what he's doing out there in the court. He's confident in who he is off the court. And I think that's the way he leads this team. And I think you can kind of see it in the players below him. Some of the younger guys, we obviously know Jordan Walsh has been spending a lot of time with them. And I think it's rubbing off on these guys in the court. They carry themselves with a little bit more of a swagger, a little bit more of an attitude. The effort is there. They want to win for each other. I think, it would be very easy for Jaylen Brown to have looked at this roster at the beginning of the year, made a stink about it, not wanting to show up, not want to put his body on the line for what a lot of people are calling a gap year or a bridge year. It's the complete opposite for him. He wants to show people that it isn't those things. And I think he's, his attitude towards that trickles on down to all the rest of the players on the team, and they want to win for him as much as he wants to win for them. Do you feel that that's, I mean, you're in the locker room, Bobby, you're at the games. Like, do you sense that at all? Is that they're kind of looking at Brown as, the leader on this team here?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic on this team with so many of these players broke into the league, watching these guys carve out their careers. And, I think it's tough to believe for a lot of people who've been following their careers, but they are Celtics legends. That's how Luka Garza described it to me. These guys leading a championship, Brown being that finals MVP. Like, these players who are trying to carve out their roles in Boston watched that championship run from afar and what those guys did on it. So there's a respect factor there. Certainly, I think people know who they're following on this roster, even the Pritchards and Whites of the world. Those guys who came along later into Brown's tenure here understand that too. So, yeah, I think there's a pretty firm hierarchy in terms of how they're following things on this team. But Brown's done a good job of not making it about him. That was the first time, really, on Monday night that we heard him talk like this is his year. Slipping out a little bit that this is his favorite season, the way it's gone here. But otherwise, he's tried to make it about team and about sacrifice and about defense, which he keeps talking about. And I think he's just set such a great tone vocally this year. I know John's talked about it too. He loves the way that he's led after games, the Brooklyn loss, saying you show up or, don't show up at all if you're not ready, and all the different things that he's done this year. I think his night-to-night focus has been great, especially early, the engagement where, as we said last show, this thing could have gone sideways, and he played in that New Orleans game, and he's played every single night, all save for 2 rest nights. And I still, this deep into the season, even though I've emphasized heavily, and I wrote for CLNS the other day that, Joe's the coach of the year so far, Jaylen, I think, is by a hair the most important factor on this run to begin this season, because it's, I'll give the player a little bit more credit than the coach, and to have this level of consistency from your best player when the attention and the pressure, and now not having Tatum there to take any of it off of him, it's on every single night. This is what I said going into the year, Noah. How was he going to perform night in and night out? We knew he could do this on any given night. Can you do it for 8 nights in a row to start a month? He's done it against a variety of opponents.
Yeah, there are very few outstanding questions, I would say, at this point about Jaylen's game, because the biggest thing when we had the discussion around like who's the Celtics' best player entering the season, the biggest thing that he has going for him is the fact that he's been there, right? He's done it in the brightest moments, and NBA finals, conference finals many times, right? So that part we already know. It's not like we're like, oh, how is this going to translate to the playoffs? I think the big question was going to be, can he do it night in, night out without the gravity around him that he's used to playing with, right? Primarily being Jayson Tatum, but also the other guys they lost. And so that question has been answered as well. And I think there's inevitably going to emerge a discussion at some point around like, oh, how are they going to coexist with Brown playing at this level? But the reality is that this is a positive thing that he is playing at an even better level than years past. Like, sure, maybe the higher usage and the opportunity to have the ball in his hand more helped unlock some of this, but also he is someone that we know throughout the course of his career has gotten better year after year after year, with the exception of having a tough shooting season last year. That's pretty much been accurate for 4, 5, 6 years now. So I think it's going to be a great thing for them moving forward. And a lot of the conversations that were being had this summer around him as a trade chip and potentially using him to reset, I think they look a little silly right now.
Unbelievable.
I'm never going to say
it's easy to forget that.
It is easy to forget. I mean, I think about it all the time because, Dylan Harper, like the Spurs picks, those were all kind of in conversation. I don't even know if it was.
Can't even imagine having that conversation, honestly.
The conversation was had. And now you look at where he is among the league's best players. I mean, I think pretty comfortably a top 10 player, if not better than that. I think most people would agree. Then
we should rank him.
NBA players.
I love doing that.
I'll let you guys think about it for the next half hour. At the end of the show, I want you to give me your top 10.
That's my favorite game, Jimmy. You're speaking my language.
10. Bobby, I'm going to put it on you at the end of the show.
I love a top 10 list.
And we're going to start right now. You can start your thinking right now. But before we get into anything else, I want to remind everybody that tonight's show and all of our shows are brought to you by the good people at PrizePicks. It's a holiday season. Dun, 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 dun. The best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups in Picksmas. There you go. Yeah, Picksmas. Lots of PrizePicks. % off right now. Flex Friday, not off. Flex Friday payout boost increase to 60% on Picksmiths. It's a Picksmiths miracle, everybody. And it's all happening on PrizePicks while you and I are here making decisions every day. What to buy, what to eat still. We still got to buy those last second. You're going to see some family this weekend that you didn't get to see on Christmas. They're going to be expecting something. But there's only one place where it feels good to be right always, and that's PrizePicks. The great thing about PrizePicks, I mean, there's so many things, but the best part to me is it's just straightforward. I don't have to spend time, calculating my payouts, all this stuff, who's this, who's that. PrizePicks makes it easy with their multipliers. Whether it's a simple 3x or, maybe I go really big with a 2000x, PrizePicks makes it easy. You can understand what you're going to win. None of this funny business on, all this other stuff. And it makes, they put us first. So withdrawals are easy, fast, secure. If you're lucky enough to withdraw, which you should be, they accept all the major payment methods that you got going on. It's just a great place. And you know what it is, Bobby? You're in the fantasy. You're the fantasy finals, I think, right, Bobby? That's what's going on this week. A lot of people aren't.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people aren't, and that's okay because with PrizePicks, you don't have to wait until next year. Hop on over. They let you play fantasy football every week, fantasy basketball, all those things. You can just keep on playing. Nobody cares. Listen, if you're out of the fantasy baseball playoffs, you don't even care who's still in it. Just move on over to PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Good job, guys. Thank you for filling in that question for me. All right, so we've talked Luka. We've talked. What's his name? Hauser.
We've talked Luka. We've talked Garza.
Yep. We've hit a few of the big ones tonight. We haven't talked about White. We haven't talked about Pritchard. Now, Pritchard's a guy that we've been saying a lot more and more of to Noah's happiness here. A guy that really started off, I would say, rough this year for whatever reason. I don't think anyone can really put a finger on why. But I think as of late, talk about confidence, talking about a guy that really just needs to think less and just play his game and just, to me, make himself more active. That was one of my Christmas wishes this year, is that I want Payton Pritchard to prioritize himself. It's like you're at therapy and the guy tells you or the girl tells you, you're a people pleaser. You're trying to make everybody else happy, but you got to make yourself happy. If you're in the airplane going down, you put the mask on yourself first. You can't help anybody unless you're happy first, right? Payton Pritchard has to prioritize himself. And I think that's what we're starting to see. He's playing his game. He's not thinking twice about shooting as much. 10 of 17 from the field tonight. 3 of 8 from 3? We'll take it. Obviously, we'll take that. Getting to the line, 9 rebounds. And he was physical tonight. He was all over the place, 5 assists. So I thought this was a awesome Payton Pritchard game. It took us 40 minutes into the show to really give him his flowers. And that's not to do anything with Payton Pritchard. I think there's a lot of guys tonight where, Garza being one, where it's a little bit more of a unique situation. But luckily, the Payton Pritchard production, Triple P, is more common than it has been, Noah. Why is that? Enlighten me, please. I mean,
he's been trending upwards for a while. Like that starts of the season.
But we're seeing it. But it's like,
yeah,
it feels so like you can rely on it a little bit more.
I was just pulling up his stats. And he still has like big scoring games against Toronto, 33 points on 13-24 shooting, and then 11 points on Monday, and then 29 tonight. Like, I think the qualm, because I know what people say about Pritchard and what the concern is that he seems to kind of do it every other night. A lot of it has to do with how many shots he's attempting, and I think he's been pretty good at knowing when he has to be aggressive and when he hasn't. I don't remember when exactly he said this, but this earlier in the season, maybe about a month ago, I asked him about his the offensive game that game. And he said, I know that Jaylen and Derek are always going to be aggressive, and sometimes it's my night to do that, and sometimes it's not. And I remember thinking in the moment, like I kind of did a double take because I was thinking, I feel like he's one of those guys that they always need him to be aggressive regardless. Like you would think he's in that.
You think Jill heard that quote and said, "Come into my office"?
No, I actually don't think anybody even tweeted that quote out, which is why I'm bringing it up now. But I think the reality is that he's not always going to take 20 shots a game, right? He's not Jaylen Brown on this team. No. And if you look at some of the quieter games he's had, 8 shots versus Miami, 12 shots versus Indiana, like he's not averaging a crazy amount of field goal attempts this season. The key is for him to just impact winning when he's out there. And I think when he's been down on himself, he's pretty clear about it, is that he doesn't feel like he played with a ton of energy and did all the little things that kind of got him to this point. And I think you look at tonight's game, the best part of the stat line is probably the 9 rebounds. Like that's his game, right? 9 rebounds, the assists that are pretty consistent. Actually, 3 turnovers is pretty out of character for him, but typically handling the ball really well. A lot of 0 turnover, 1 turnover nights. And then, obviously you'll take the 29 points on 10 of 17 shooting, but you see like when he has these really good games, it's when he has the ball in his hands for an extended period of time, whether that's the second quarter in this one where he kind of went off. He had that 19-point third quarter versus the Raptors a couple of days ago, obviously the 42-point performance versus the Cavs, but it's hard to critique too much when he's not scoring a whole lot, when he's also not shooting a whole lot. Like he is a player that in his ideal world, like he's taking 17, 18, 19 shots a game always, right? Which is easier said than done, because obviously we can have a few players that are in that spot. And obviously the mid-range paint shots, the out of restricted area shots, he's just been insanely ridiculous this season. And all the advanced metrics have him with like Jokic as far as efficiency goes.
Yeah, I found this one super impressive from him because he picked up the 2 fouls early, ends up out of the game for a little bit. Cannot mess with your rhythm sometimes. A lot of guys in this game, Simons, Walsh, got knocked out with the foul trouble. But he came back, and played a full game and found that rhythm pretty quickly. He was an important part attacking with Luka Garza in the pick and roll midway through the game. Really impressive combination, those two. Crushing screens from Garza, Pritchard going downhill at Siakam, shooting over him. Bunch of different guys that he was attacking. Jay Huff out of those looks. Tough short to mid-rangers, as you said there, Noah, that he's stepping into super comfortably. And building a little bit of a momentum going forward here after a tough stretch following the 42-point game against Cleveland. He's trying to build some consistency here this year, and that's been the story for he and White. How many games can you carry in a row? It's been a great month for Derek overall. Pritchard has been more high and low this month. You'd love to see him get going on a game-to-game basis into the new year, and the ball control is important, certainly, but he's another guy you rely on for three-point shooting to some degree, at least capable of shooting from 3, and nice to see him get back on track from there. The mid-range game, as we've talked about all year, has given him a nice outlet when he's not hitting those shots. And, of course, he's giving you solid defense as well right now. So I'm in a decent place with him. Again, night to night, how does it look? The good thing is that he's capable of carrying you in any given game, if other guys don't have it. This was certainly one of the games where he had that level of control. I love him playing with the ball in his hands and running pick. He's become a great pick and roll point guard. I remember 2021, we were talking about the early steps of him developing that at the beginning of his career. Joe was working with him a lot on that through that summer league and into the development steps together. And it's come so far, the ball control, the passing, and certainly his ability to score out of those looks. And it's another reason I'm really excited about this Garza emergence. Cade has been great. I've loved his screening throughout this season. Garza is the best screener on this team by far. I mean, he just levels guys out of the way and forces them into those mismatches. He did a great job taking advantage of them.
Do you think he's the best screener on the team? Because sometimes he sets a screen where I'm like, that's a great screen. That's like an Al Horford-esque screen. But I don't know. I haven't looked at the advanced numbers to know how accurate that is.
I don't worry about the advanced numbers with it. I'm just watching it.
It looks great. That's your take too.
Yeah, he just has a perfect screening body, so he's creating space for these guys, and then he does good stuff out of it. He'll make a good pass out of the roll every night. He certainly is effective when you hit him on the roll, and he has to seal a guy and finish inside too. There's so much to love about his game. I was saying it last show, Jimmy, after the second straight one he had at that point. there's something here, and they started. It's a reason they went out and got him. We know the physical deficiencies. We know, the guards were chasing him around sometimes, trying to take advantage of him on the offensive end. He's not the best defender in the world. He's not the fastest guy. He was even saying it to us the other day. Like, there's athletic limitations for him out there.
He can't stop
the
talking
skill,
about how unathletic he is. It's so funny.
the skill
He
is
loves
great.
to talk about it.
Isn't it crazy
think
though?
about
A guy in the NBA telling us that he's unathletic. It's like, dude,
He
you're
dunked
in the
today, and I
1%
was like, okay, it could be worse. It could be worse.
of the 1%.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Bobby, continue. It was so funny. Every scrum he does, it becomes a theme.
Yeah, so I see something in him, Jimmy. I want him to be part of this thing going forward to some degree, and maybe it's just a 10 to 15-minute role, but he can shoot. His free throws aren't bad. His screening's awesome. Good decision making. Good scoring. I mean, that's a lot to love out of a minimum center. He's signed 2 years, right, Noah? Back on a minimum next year if they want him.
Yep.
I hope that they can keep this run going here. And certainly he's not an every night guy necessarily. But I don't know. I knew small ball wasn't going to last. They needed someone else who could play that position, and he's doing a great job with it right now.
The theme of this team is that there's something here with everybody. Like, it really does feel the only one that hasn't shown a flash of that is Chris Boucher. Every single other player on this roster has had moments where you're like, you know what? This was a great signing. Like, they really played a big role in impacting winning this season. And that just wasn't the case the first few years I covered this team because of how top heavy those rosters were. And maybe that's just a matter of opportunity, but there's something here with Luka Garza. And I think we feel this way constantly about whoever's night it is, right? That there's more than just kind of meets the eye with that player. Yeah.
And he came in there in that second quarter. About 8 minutes left in the second quarter. And, I wouldn't say that he was, the catalyst and the reason for them with that record-setting or almost record-setting second quarter. But he was a big part of it, coming in there in the 8-minute mark. And the Celtics obviously turned what was a double-digit deficit in the first. They turned everything around in the second quarter there. What else went into that second quarter? Really, it started in the end of the first, right? And it carried over to the second and just kept going. But what went into that? What was that? Just simply three started to fall. I know that they were obviously working the ball around and they had a few points in transition there. But was there something that really did they do anything different there, Bobby, in that second quarter that helped them kind of turn around that game?
I was thinking about it, earlier, when the quarter wrapped up, because as I mentioned, a big part of it was no turnovers, and that's been a huge part of their success again for the fourth straight year under Missoula. The Missoula ball thing, it's so simple when you just boil it down. Don't turn it over and get a shot off, and then try to get the offensive rebound. Like, that's it. Like, people obsess about the threes, this and that, the offense, but it's that simple, right? And so many teams around the league don't do it. They obsess over it a little bit. I'm sure there's some things like their assist rate isn't very good. They don't pass a ton, but they just get a shot off every time. And that was the first thing I ever noticed about, that first season there when remember they went on that finals run and they turned it over a million times, lost to the Warriors. We know the whole story. He just came in and fixed it almost instantly by saying, just get a shot off. And that's what they did in the second quarter. And they made them all, right? They're super efficient and created some quality looks and got into their offense quick. I noticed that too in that frame. But when you don't turn it over and you rebound at the level they do on the offensive end, it's been a formula for, as you said earlier, Noah, maybe potentially one of the best, if not the best offenses in the league so far. And they've been right there with Denver throughout the month of December, which is almost over now. We saw what Denver's doing last night against Minnesota. It's pretty special where this offense is at right now with this group of players, with all the changes, all the, Tatum being out. They've legitimately been the best offense in the league, or right up there with Denver for a month and a half, I'd say.
Yeah, it is wild. And, Bobby, I think you and I were both pretty optimistic about what the season was going to hold and potential guys making leaps. But I think even they've exceeded our expectations. I really wonder, like, if Joe Mazzulla had to be like 100% truthful, like, have they exceeded his expectations? Has Brad Stevens been blown away by what he's
Good
seen?
luck with that one from Joe.
You're never gonna get it. Yeah. Can you imagine if I asked Joe that? It's always the most normal questions that I'm like, can you imagine if I asked Joe what they did at practice today? It's like, no. But in any case, I think, yeah, you have to imagine that those guys at the top feel very encouraged by the way that it's just been kind of plug and play, right? Like regardless of who's been out there, it's been the general principles, the general theme has been successful because at the end of the day, like, yeah, the Celtics have 3 ball handlers on the floor most of the time, and that's a big reason why they take care of the ball. But even when they don't, they take care of the ball. Like the only one that's really allowed to turn the ball over is Jaylen. And most of the time when he does turn the ball over, it's like there's an offensive foul, it's an aggressive drive, like it's things that are going to the basket. And at the end of the day, like you'll live with that, with everything else that he's been doing for this team. But other than that, I mean, guys know that that's not acceptable. Like you just cannot turn the ball over and be a part of the Celtics offense. And every time I watch a League Pass game, the biggest thing I'm thinking about watching that game is like, wow, these teams do not share that principle because you see so much carelessness, especially near the bottom of the league in the standings, but even near some of the better teams. And so that thing, I know, Bobby, you've talked about it a lot over the years of like when Joe Mazzulla took over, one of the biggest things that he got under control was them not turning the ball over and Tatum and Brown learning to play kind of smarter in that, especially after that finals run. But we now know it's not just a Tatum and Brown thing. It's like this is just Joe Mazzulla instilling that principle upon the players. And it's kind of remarkable how it's played out.
Bobby, you mentioned the Celtics being second in offense, basically efficiency right now, which they are behind Denver. I'm just going to toss a question up here. Let's get weird for the next 20 minutes. What do we think is going to happen to the offense when JT is back? Now, again, we don't know if it's going to be this year. We're not saying it's going to be this year. We're not saying when it's going to be, but someday he will be back. Maybe it will be this year. Maybe it'll be next season. If Joe Mazzulla has this team playing arguably the best, offensively the best basketball in the league, let's say give or take, right? How does he handle this? This is the player that commands the ball more than anybody in the team. He comes back. Jaylen Brown's averaging 30 points a game as it is. And, you're getting all this production from the bench and everything seems to be working the way it's supposed to be. Alex asks, what happens to the offense? She doesn't want them to play slow again. Wow, gong show over here.
Sorry, that was on me.
What do you see happening, Bobby?
I see it looking like it did before, eventually. Now, I think if he comes back this season, there's going to be an ease in that will almost demand that Jaylen remains in control and runs the offense and takes the pressure off Tatum. I think I've been pretty confident about that, if that's the way it's going to go. But if he does sit out this year, come back next season, have the fresh training camp and a pretty similar group, you're going to see it look pretty similar to before. And that's where it does get a little interesting with Jaylen. I think he's handled things great this year, as I mentioned, hasn't made it about himself. And, he's preached team despite it being so centered around him and his success and what he's proved this year. And he has proven that he can lead a team here. I think it'll be an interesting dynamic, as it has been throughout, right? Like, we've had the conversation for 6 years now. Like, there's no beef, division between those two, battle. Like, they've both been pretty team-oriented and set on making it work throughout.
Take that out of it, though. I'm not trying to make it Tatum versus Brown. I'm just trying to make it the Celtics' success versus completely changing it up. Let's say he does come back this year at some point or whatever, at some point. I think this year it's an issue more than next year is a different team. You start fresh. It is what it is. They play the way they play to start the year, and they have a whole offseason to make it work, right? But you throw a guy like Tatum into the mix, talent aside, we know that the talent is there, but the style of play might be completely different. And obviously the Celtics are going to have to make adjustments. I'm not saying, you don't play Tatum because it's going to cut into Baylor Shireman's minutes. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about.
We know you're not worried about that.
Yeah, I know. No offense to anybody on the bench, but you got to
his job might be
minimum 20. What? And again, Tatum's not going to come back and play 40 minutes a night. I'm not saying he is, but let's say he plays half that. Let's say he plays 20 minutes a night. Does that just completely throw the style of play off?
I've said it. I think there's a case to bring him off the bench when he comes back initially.
I just don't see
I don't think it's crazy. Well, you can play those guys in rotation. You can have one of them on the floor at all times. It'll get Tatum settled into running the offense, handling the ball. It'll set him up against some weaker opponents. he might not need that necessarily.
No.
And
Hold
he
on.
might be in a spot. This is not a knock on Tatum. I'm just saying what's realistic for easing him in. I don't think it's totally insane to imagine that scenario. And listen, if he can slide into
whose voice is that? Is that Joe? Who's that?
Imagine if I asked that Noah to Joe.
Is that Joe?
I don't know. The first voice sounded like him. It's Tatum.
It's Tatum's.
Tatum, would you consider coming off the bench, Jayson? You
bench or no bench, Bobby? The style of play, the style of the offense is obviously going to change. My point is, if it's functioning at number 2 in the league, it's just. And again, I'm not saying you again. It's just a really hard position to be in. Because you're obviously not, if Tatum is ready to play and the doctors all clear him and he wants to play, you're not going to say, sorry, man, we're playing really good right now. Why don't you just watch? Like, that's just not going to happen. So it's not a matter of what you do if you're the Celtics. You obviously are going to, they're going to play him if everybody on his side says he's ready to play and the team says, yeah, he's ready to play. Guess what? He's playing. The question is, if you're Joe Mazzulla, how do you still make it work? And I don't expect you to have the answer. Well, it's just one of those rhetorical questions, I guess.
Here's what I'll say. The Celtics have had one of the top offenses in the NBA/NBA history over the last few years with Jayson Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, and with several players that are no longer on the roster. So
right.
I don't think we don't need to hypothesize about what it will look like because we know what it has looked like. And we now have different guys in the other spots, right? We don't have Jrue Holiday anymore, but we certainly have some great Jrue Holiday replacements that I didn't think we were going to have this season. But he's going to come in, and I think it's going to benefit them in a lot of ways, especially the non-Jaylen Brown minutes. We've talked a lot over the course of the show, too, that sometimes during the regular season, seems like you have too much talent, but then when it comes to a playoff series, when teams are really scheming against your players, then it really helps to have a second All-NBA, first-team All-NBA player, right? So I don't think we're going to really run into this problem. And then the other side of it is that in other categories, defensively, defensive rebounding, all of that, you're just going to see a lot be rectified. But certainly I have been thinking about this. Certainly there is a lot of pressure now that they're 19-11. They're only 3 games behind where they were 22-8 this time last year through 30 games. So it's not too dissimilar from where they were.
Pressure where?
There's a lot of pressure to continue playing like this, both with when he's not here, but also when he comes back. This is no longer a wash season that I think some.
You think expectations are now changed, right?
Yeah, for sure. Why wouldn't they? I mean,
no, I agree.
Maybe the expectations were already like that, but externally they weren't, and now they are everywhere. So I don't know. I just think I haven't seen that ever be a problem before. They've had a historically good offense, right? Didn't they have the best offense of all time the year they won the title? That's I think what we might be nearing, kind of building off of what the season's been all about.
And that's why I keep going back to the system. The system allows you to maintain that regardless of the players. And that's why I do think Joe deserves a ton of credit for this year. Most interesting thing I heard this year, Jimmy, Chris Mannix came on the podcast, and we were a little surprised that the offense hasn't been more, filled with more pace this year. It hasn't looked super different from the past, just in terms of the design and how they run things. And he said that he's heard that a big reason for that is reintegrating Tatum eventually. You're not just going to overhaul and change everything. Knowing that he's coming back at some point. So I thought that was interesting this year as well. And you have to think with a superstar his caliber that once he's back, actually being Tatum, he'll be in that role. Now, as we've heard from the doctors and the experts, most guys are not themselves until around a year. So that almost demands and solves this question, at least for now, right? The lower minutes he'll be playing, the natural process of getting your feet under you. It's all going to settle things into place, at least for this season. But it's going to be fascinating to watch how his progression goes. Is it immediate? Does he, I think you mentioned this a week or two ago, no, does he look like himself instantly? Then all of a sudden, this does become more of an interesting conversation of, all right, he's ready to go and play 30, 40 minutes, and that's what he wants, and he's succeeding at that. You're almost forced to put him right back into that position. But I don't imagine specifically this regular season, that's what it'll look like. It's just not how these returns go typically. Though I was encouraged to hear Drew Smith saying that he felt like himself after like 2 preseason games and was confident again. So it's different for everybody. Certainly there's more of a pressure here on a guy who's leading a franchise to get back into that role, and they'll ease him into that, I think, almost certainly. But the good thing about him coming back this year is that he's stepping into something that's already working so well if it continues.
We are now a day past Christmas. I think for a lot of NBA fans, Christmas is the start of the season. That's where a lot of the casuals start to pay attention. You know, everyone's home for the holidays, turn on the TV at noon. NFL can try their best, but my household's always going to be an NBA household. And I thought the NBA games yesterday, a little bit hit or miss. I thought the first game was obviously fun. Nice comeback there. And I thought the late game, everyone's probably passed out by then. And then you had a little bit mixed bag. But you look at the standings, you see the Celtics are 19-11. They are, 5 games out of first because obviously the Pistons have played exceptionally well this season. But the Celtics have beaten them and fought hard against them. Same with the Knicks. So if you look at the Celtics team, at this point in the season, you would say they are just about as good as any other team in the East. And with that being said, Noah, you mentioned the word pressure earlier, how expectations have changed and this and that. Does this change the way the front office looks at things? And perhaps with the trade deadline coming up in a year that I thought maybe a lot of people thought the Celtics might be sellers at the deadline, it almost seems like you absolutely could not be a seller at the deadline anymore. And do you even consider possibly being a buyer when you look around the East, at least, and you say, this is anybody's conference right now, it feels like. Obviously out West, there's some seriously strong teams. You got OKC, you've got San Antonio, you've got Denver, to name a few. But from a perspective out East, are you buying? Are you selling? Are you standing pat if you're the Celtics? I know we're not at the deadline yet, but I think unofficially the season, or it's we're in it. We're in the thick of things now. I think going on now until April or whatever, March.
It's gonna probably be somewhere in the middle where maybe they're shedding some salary, but they're trying to improve the roster, which obviously is a tall task and is one that is probably always Brad Stevens' guidepost this time of year, when they are in this position with the aprons. But I can't imagine that they don't view this year as a legitimate opportunity to compete anymore. Like, the reality is that they very well could be the number 2 seed in the East. Like, what are they, 3 games behind the Knicks, 2 games behind the Knicks now? Like, it's pretty close. And
5
Tatum comes back. Yeah, you just can't take that for granted. Like, that you have a season now where, knock on wood, your guys are healthy and the East feels wide open. And like, the Thunder now look a little bit less invincible than they did a week ago. Like, who knows who you're going to see in a final series. So I don't think they're going to do anything detrimental to the team. And I know that the whole guidepost for their front office moves have always been about getting back to that North, Brad Stevens always called it the North Star of like contending for a championship, and long-term, not just doing something just for this season, but also for future years. But they can acquire a player that's going to benefit them next year, but also this year, like, that would be the end goal, right? I just don't see a world where they make themselves, substantially worse this season just to shed salary. And I thought that there was a possibility that was going to be the case entering the season, depending on where they were.
I thought that was going to be the case too. I thought that'd be an easy sell. If let's say you reverse this record is kind of where I thought things were going to be. They're on the fringe of the playoffs, and it's never fun for fans to see a team purposely, not purposely, but get worse because they're shedding salary. But I think you could have justified it more this year going into the season. Now you can't really justify that. So if that's still the front office is thinking, that's going to feel like a bit of a slap in the face to the fans and to the Celtics team, more importantly, that has been, kind of working their ass off to get themselves in the position that they're in. I think if you're a front office, if you're the owner, you got to eat whatever extra money that, is coming your way to stay in the good graces of the players and of the fans and of everybody else. Now, I don't mean that it should hinder or hurt their chances at, draft picks or free agency in the future and blah, 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 all that good stuff. But I do think you kind of toe a fine line here with, if you're now competing for, home court in the first round, which is, again, is something that I didn't think. At the very least, you don't want to get worse at the deadline. I think everyone would be fine if they understand if they stood pat. I'm not saying, make some short-sighted moves in order to, win a couple playoff rounds. But I think you might be in a position to, if the right player or players are available. I think, Noah, your point is fair. You might make a decision that might save you some money, but also fills a void in the roster in the lineups right now. And of course, you are still thin at the center position, despite what Garza is giving you. I still think everybody would agree that it would be nice to have a little bit more at that position overall. I mean, you're still, knock on wood, one little injury away from either that position or a really contributing player to being exceptionally thin. So there's not a whole lot of fat, if you want to say, to work with when you're cutting meat off the bone. So, Bobby, do you have any thoughts on that deadline sitch that I'm making up right now?
Yeah, I just think I used to be the trade picks guy, and I think the dynamics around that have changed so much with the cap situation. So that's their main thing that they can send out. We've talked about Hauser. What's the value of Simons? There's just not a ton there in terms of upgrading. So I think it's more likely than anything that they stand pat this year. And I've said this a couple of times, standing pat would be a win because it's saying, let's see what this team can do. They've been good enough. We'll eat some money this year. We'll stay in the tax and we'll go for it here with this group. And I don't think there's something out there that's going to drastically improve their fortunes. Maybe you can get in on a bigger deal and get a future piece, something you like out there. They've been in the buyout market for a couple of years now. That doesn't always help a ton. We were excited about Craig last year, and that didn't substantially change their fortunes in any way. So,
where is he?
Yeah, I think this is going to be their group. Team USA qualifiers for the World Cup.
Got it. Sorry, I asked. Okay. I talked about us being in the kind of like the casual start to the season for a lot of fans. However, the season's been going on since October. Bobby, you have done some rankings for us. We want to know where Jaylen Brown's at, but why don't you take us, start at 10, let's go down to 1, where we're at, top 10 in the NBA. Is this based on this season or is this based just overall on things?
I'm going based on this season. I think it's tough to say overall at the moment.
I agree. Let's go on. Let's go on this season because that'll take us into the MVP considerations. And Noah, if you have any takes or agreements on this, feel free to chime in at any point.
Yeah, so the top 2 are obviously easy, and it's neck and neck between those 2 every day.
Start at 10.
Last night. Oh, you want to go from the bottom? No, I'm going from the top down. Sorry.
People are going to
That's easy.
All right, fine.
What is there? Everyone's going to be surprised I say Shai's number 1. Like, there's no suspense there. I am going.
Jokic has the case.
Jokic has a case. He does. But I think Shai's been the best player in the league this year, scoring 30 pretty much every game, being part of that best defense ever. And I'm a defense guy, just like Jaylen. I've been the defense guy on the show for years. Jokic is amazing. The weight he carries on that end, astronomical, maybe more than we've ever seen a player carry before. But the defense with him isn't great. And they've been a shaky defense throughout this year. He's at that center position where it's so important. So that is where my differentiator has been between those 2 over the last 2 years.
Solid recently, though. Your own chart that you sent me proved otherwise. Noah, do we have a disagreement right off the top here?
Yeah. I think Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now.
Because of last night?
No, because you think it's Shai.
Nice. I like that.
Just kidding. I don't know. It's those two are probably in a 2-man race, but it could be either.
Yeah.
When I watch Jokic play, I think it's Jokic. When I watch SGA play, I think it's SGA. So
I feel that more about Jokic, though. I'll be honest. When I watch both those guys play, I think it's just the way Jokic is built.
Like the worst basketball analysis.
I think it's the way that Jokic is built that I'm always stunned that he's doing.
He's built different.
The way Jokic makes me feel, I feel like he's a number 2.
I think it's his sneakers. All right, let's go. So I imagine Jokic is 2. Who's 3?
Number 3 is Luka Doncic. The scoring this year has been through to the roof. 34 game, which, we've only seen a handful of guys do over the years. Efficient, hasn't been able to be stopped. I mean, the 3-point shot's dipping a little bit the later the season goes on, but he's just carried that team through LeBron's absence, Reeves being in and out of the lineup a little bit. You pretty much know what you're getting from him on any given night. And I haven't been the biggest fan of him in the past, but he has come out this year with the weight loss and everything else and has been that level of a player. So Luka Doncic comes in at number 3. Number 4, okay. The best player in the East this season has been from my Pistons, Cade Cunningham. And we saw him twice in Boston. The way he's controlling everything in that offense, nearly 10 assists a game. I'm just blown away by the player he's become. They're 24-6 right now. Just an awesome player. Defense could come around a little bit, but I love what he's doing out there in Detroit right now. Number 5, I will go Jaylen Brunson in New York.
Oh,
that's an awesome team.
You said Jaylen, you got everybody excited. Then you said Brunson, dude. What the hell's wrong with you?
I should have built a little more suspense around that, right?
So you're going Brunson over Brown right now. Okay.
Clip it.
Clip it. Noah, clip it.
New York's been awesome. We've been watching them in the Cup. The
Cup. Oh my God, he's gonna say the Cup. Noah, can you believe this guy? Yeah, give me his Cup stats. I'm really
it's so much more fun to laugh at Bobby's list than to have to make my own.
I agree. All right, Jaylen Brunson at 5. All right, who's at 6? Did you have more to say about Brunson?
No, I mean, that team is still the team to beat in the East for me right now, as I felt coming into this season. I've loved what they've done. Number 6, they've wasted it. It's been as good of a season as he's had, and every single night he shows up, and the team around him does not, including, unfortunately, well, he was great last night, but Warford hasn't been present for a lot this year. Steph Curry, number 6.
Oh my God. Still, can you believe Curry. This guy? He's trolling. No, he's trolling. What? Right?
Have you watched Steph this year?
No, he's Bobby's not trolling.
Trolling. All right,
Steph has been out of this world.
I'm starting to wonder if you've got Brown even on your top 10. All right.
Why are you being the defense guy? Your list is not very defense focused. That's all I'm gonna say.
Got him.
Right now, this season.
He only cares about defense when it helps his argument, I think, Noah. Interesting.
It's funny though because there's literally no list you can make that couldn't be clown. That's the whole beauty of play right
So Steph Curry at 6. Anything stat based behind that pick, or you just like how Steph Curry shoots deep threes? Or you like the full court shot in pregame? Let me guess. You like the full court pregame shot.
This season for Steph Curry at age 37, 28 points a game, so a little less than Jaylen, but 39% from 3 on 12 attempts a game, 4 assists a game as well with only 3 turnovers.
Wow.
Slightly edging out Jaylen in my mind. It's close, but I am going Steph at that spot. And right behind him, I will go with Jaylen. Jaylen's been super consistent from a scoring perspective this year. The record's been impeccable. Detroit, New York, and a handful of teams like Denver, the only teams in front of them so far this season. And overall,
fraud. Freaking fraud.
What, Jimmy?
I don't even believe you. I don't even believe what you're saying.
What do you mean you don't believe me?
You don't even. I can't get past Curry over Brown. I can't get past Brunson.
That's number 7, right? Jaylen coming in. 7's great. What's wrong with 7?
It's fine. I thought maybe you were gonna go 5 or 6, but that's okay. We'll take 7.
He's 6 or 7.
Okay, listen, it's your list. It's your list. So we've got, just to recap, since we've interrupted on all your picks, we've got SGA, Jokic, Luka.
Number 4 is Cade.
Cade, there it is. Cade, Brunson, Steph.
Number 6 is Steph. Brown, we're going 7. 8, we'll give to Tyrese Maxey, who is right in the running there, among the top scorers in the league this season. Yeah, he's been super consistent. Love what he's done overall, carrying that Philly team through some injuries, ups and downs. They were so great to start this year. He'd probably be higher on this list a little earlier in the season. But they've dropped off enough, and he's still a target on defense enough where I'll give Brown the edge over him. for what he's done at the start of this year. So that's number 8. Number 9, I'll give it to Donovan Mitchell, who's still scoring at a high rate, still efficient, still one of the more deadly scorers overall in this league, despite the Cavs' disappointment to begin this year. And then number 10, I'll give it to Alperen Şengün, who awesome start to the season with Houston. They've dipped off a little bit recently. He's been outstanding overall, carrying their offense. No Kevin Durant's there doing his thing right now. But the offensive transition for that team, though, it was seamless. They lost Fred VanVleet. They overhauled the top players on that team, sending out Jalen Green and bringing in Durant. They've had to switch a bunch of different things. They play big. They don't have a lot of shooting on the floor. Amen Thompson still hasn't figured out that part of his game, and he's still trying to become a ball handler. So what did they do? They just threw it to their center at the top of the arc, had him run their offense. And right from that opening night game against Oklahoma City, they've been one of the best offenses in the league, playing 2 centers who don't shoot a ton, playing their center at point guard, essentially. And he's just carried it. And every single game I watch him, he continues to look a little bit better, a little more dominant. So, I go with him over like a Jamal Murray.
Who is this?
Julius
I missed
Randle's
it.
been great. Alperen Şengün.
Okay.
Bobby, did you see this? Somebody said this is the Kia MVP list, which I'm assuming you didn't see. So for all the clowning, that's what the NBA came up with too. Or
Probably.
Really? Exactly?
MVP.
Who makes that list?
Some like sales guy at Kia who's just like rummaging through like points per
now,
game.
to be
stats,
fair, my guy Giannis did not make this list.
Where was Wemby?
He would have.
Where's Wemby?
Wembanyama's missed a lot of time this year too. So I do have to knock down the guys who have missed a lot of time.
Oh my god, dude. Wemby's probably the best player in the freaking league, probably. He's not even in your
Jimmy,
top 10.
He missed like a month.
Jimmy, next show, I just want your list.
Next guy's up at like
I'll give my
next
list.
Next guy's up are certainly Giannis, Victor, Anthony Edwards is in that department too. He's been pretty good this year. Yeah, I mean, it's a packed list, 1 to 15. You could change a lot of these guys short between like 3 and 15. So that's the best I could come up with. Curry's probably the controversial one, right? But I'm just gonna give him credit because it's not his fault, right?
Yeah,
like
it's good. He doesn't
enough
get enough
around him.
credit. It's good that you did that.
If he had a ton around him and they were disappointing, that's one thing. You should see who he plays with every night, Jimmy. It's like guys you've never heard of.
Well, there's a lot of guys I haven't heard of, but yeah, I see your point.
Wait,
Don't forget, I had the Warriors in the prediction show that we had. I think I had the Warriors coming out of the West. So I was big on just Warrior Magic, one last hurrah type situation. I'm not as big on that anymore. But listen, I'm a Curry guy, just like
where's Luke?
Like everybody else is. Yeah, where's Luke?
Luke's top 50.
Top 50. Luke,
did you see he has the second best fourth quarter net rating in the NBA? Ugo has number 1. So
by the way, Victor's coming off the bench right now.
Completely invalidates the stat. What's that?
Victor's coming off the bench right now behind Luke Cornett.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. You tell me.
Because Luke's got aura. Luke's got aura. Amit's freaking out. He says he can't. Is
Luke Cornett propaganda.
Amit. Yeah, it's Why is Amit freaking out at us? Oh, he wants to call me out, I think. But it's not going to ever happen because I run this show. Anyways, we're going to go over Bobby's.
There goes Jimmy.
Did he actually leave on purpose?
No, Amit kicks me out. SGA, Jokic, Doncic, Cade, Brunson, Curry, then good friend Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey at 8, Donovan Mitchell at 9, who is an awesome player, and Şengün. That's like an NBA smart guy pick is Şengün. It's like, oh, I'm gonna outsmart everybody and pick Şengün. So you got your pick in there, Bobby. Agree, disagree? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. I want to remind everybody that the show is brought to you by PrizePicks, and I also want to remind everybody that we've got a lot of other unbelievable content on CLNS. The show is moving to the CLNS Media main YouTube page. If you're watching on our Celtics, All Access page, that page is going to stay existing and it's going to post a bunch of amazing content. But this show will not go live on that page after the new year. So if you find yourself watching on Celtics All Access, move it on over to our main Celtics CLNS page, our main CLNS page for our Garden Report postgame show. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications. You'll never miss a show. Follow us on social media, Celtics at Celtics CLNS, and follow our show at Celtics Garden Report. We already talked about Celtics All Access, NBA History is a great channel that you can catch all unbelievable content. Gelso is a big part of that. He's got guests from all over the NBA universe from years prior. And big Patriots weekend coming up. You want to hit up Patriots Press Pass. Patriots Jets, always a fun one. We love beating up on the Jets. Patriots need to win the game if they want a chance at that number 1 overall seed. Denver did what they needed to do last night. There's one game left. Denver can lose it to San Diego. No, sorry, LA, formerly San Diego.
I still do that too.
The Chargers. Let's just call them the Chargers, okay? Win, and if the Broncos win, they get the 1 seed. If they lose and the Patriots beat the Jets and the Dolphins, they will get the 1 seed, which is now the only bye you get in the NFL. It used to be 1st and 2nd seed. Now it's just the 1st seed. So check out Patriots Press Pass. And then you get the Bruins ringside with good friend Evan Marinowski that Bobby ceremoniously, famously beat in fantasy in a very heartbreaking way for Evan. Nobody cares but us.
Jimmy, guess who's up on Sunday?
Who's up? Yeah, who are you playing?
For the first time. Oh, me? I don't know. I think Bailey.
Oh, that was the whole thing? You guys didn't... It's still going?
Yeah, no, that was the semifinal.
Right
Championship is right now.
I thought that was the championship.
No, I would have been really celebrating. If
you were kind of playing it cool. I didn't realize.
You should have really been celebrating. You were literally dead, and you came back from the dead. I don't know why you weren't freaking out more. But that's okay.
Cool.
Everybody celebrates their own way.
I feel like I kind of stole it. An interception up 20. But anyway,
it's a good management.
I wasn't thinking about that, Jimmy. I was thinking about Robert Williams for the first time since the Celtics traded
Sunday.
Going to be going against his own team. But they're in action right now, and I'm just praying he can stay healthy for the rest of this game.
Seriously, fingers crossed that he can make it to Sunday, huh? Maybe we'll get a Xanis sighting. Xanis will
They trade him in 2023, Jimmy.
Williams. I know, it's sad.
And they still
we all love Rob here. You'll never hear any Rob hate on the show. The only thing I'll say is that the Celtics did absolutely what they had to do in trading Rob Williams for Jrue Holiday. It ended up being probably the reason they won the championship. Jrue Holiday brought that championship pedigree. And it just hasn't worked out, unfortunately, for Rob Williams. You just hope that he can find some health and put together a few seasons. Because when he's Rob Stonk, and the OGs know the Rob Stonk days, Noah looked that up. There was nobody really more fun to watch at his peak.
Oh, my God. Most exciting Celtic of my lifetime. He really was.
That is a statement right there. Another Bobbyism. We'll probably end on that note. Noah, Bobby, want to say happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa started today. The holidays aren't just like we're riding this thing all the way through New Year's. So it's a party weekend. We're into next week. We're all working at let's be honest, we're all working at 50% capacity, if that. If you're in the office, we're just cruising right now, which is fine. New Year, new you.
What you at tonight, Jimmy?
I'm always at 100%, dude. I'm always at 100%.
So you're the one exception.
There's no off button.
I know. Appreciate you coming on a Friday.
We'll do, as we get closer to the new year, we'll do a New Year's resolution segment for the Celtics. We're not going to do it yet. We got a few games to go, but we hope everybody has a great weekend and a happy holiday season. For Noah, for Bobby, for Amit in the back, who's begging me to end the show. Hit me with the outro, Amit.